welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who is currently recording this episode while riding a massive sea beast. It's John Levingood.
Oh my god, I'm getting like slime all on my inner thighs from this. Like, you gotta keep these sea beasts underwater. That way, like, the mucus level on their skin to protect them, it doesn't bother you as much. But the moment you're out of the water for more than like 30 seconds, you just like notice this gel. It's not good. It's like when you have too much hand lotion and then you're like, what do I do with the extra hand lotion or like the sanitizer during our COVID pandemic? If you get too much, you're like, do I put it on my elbows? Like, where do my elbows get dry?
I gotta tell you though, man, you look good. I mean, the goo, listen, you're currently riding a beast that's 1 kilometer in size. The sound is great. I mean, goo's spraying all over the coast. But I'm impressed, man. You were able to go into the hidden sea and get this trident, and you're riding it. This is awesome.
I mean, I feel like I'm like doing the aquatic version of House Atreides for Dune. Well, Mark, that is the most readily that I've ever answered one of your ambush inquiries at the beginning of a pod.
This is great. So our first 100 episodes, I guess if you've listened, John definitely had some trouble with it, but now you're just rolling with it, man. You're rolling with these.
I was like the T-800 when it was fighting the T-1000, and sometimes it froze up while it was getting smashed into things, like it was processing. And now I'm like T-1000 level. I can a few hundred pods. I found my stride.
Dude, you're nailing it, man. You're nailing it. I love it. And I'm glad that you're back too. I had to bring you back for this because it's been too long. We dedicated episodes 121 and 122 to a Sea Beast tournament. Actually, at Movies, Films, and Flicks, we did a Sea Beast week where it was just nothing but Sea Beasts. And then all month we just did Sea Beast podcasts. And in that, we had 32 Sea Beasts. And we had...
it was tremendous.
Yeah. It was a two-parter. Each episode was probably an hour and 45 minutes. But you should go back and listen to it because it's a lot of fun. And you and I, we've kind of been jonesing lately for some more Sea Beast action. And 2020 delivered on that front. I mean, they gave us some excellent Sea Beasts. So it only feels natural to do a 16 Sea Beast tournament, winner takes all setup. I think it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we even found a few stragglers that we didn't think of. Well, maybe we did think of them, but we were picking our top 32 back then. And even with honorable mentions back in March 2018 when we did those episodes, we still, it's not, you can't get all the Sea Beasts, but I think maybe now, with this third episode to complete this long-lasting trilogy, we might have given you guys the Sea Beast tournament trifecta you've all been waiting a lifetime for.
I mean, people right now are just so happy. Driving, walking, cleaning the floor, listening at work. People are ready for this Sea Beast tournament. I'm ready for this Sea Beast tournament. I have so many notes. You're going to hear me turning pages today. It's because I have an excessive level of notes about these 16 competitors in here. So instead of breaking down the 16 right now, I want to just jump into the matchups, and then we'll kind of talk about who's there.
That's true. So we're going to give everybody the 8 different matchups we have for round 1, correct?
Correct.
All right. I'm ready.
All right. So let's start with the first matchup right here. So we have the Kikimora from The Witcher episode 1. Like right in the beginning when he's fighting the giant
goblin swamp spider, I call it.
The goblin swamp spider from The Witcher. And this time we're including Netflix TV and we're including movies. We wanted to mix it up. We wanted to give you all something different. So we have the Kikimora from The Witcher that our friendly Witcher, Henry Cavill, battles in a swamp bog. If you know me, you know I love swamps. You know I love bogs in movies, so this was perfect. The next one is The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse, directed by Robert Eggers, starring Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. In this film, seagulls are smushed, mermaids pop out. I mean, people get these random scrimshaws. It might be there, it might not. Maybe the island is a sea beast. So, I mean, we don't know. But we're kicking off our tournament with some weird ones right here. Because, okay, I just want to start you off by saying our sea beast, it's loose. It's air quotes sea beast, John, correct?
Right.
Basically,
largely marine, generally water monsters.
There it is. Yeah. So, and if the fight takes place in water and the things hang out in a swamp or a bog, we know that's not a sea. But, I mean, this could be a water monster tournament, but sea beast sounds better than water monster.
I'm with you.
Water beast is no good.
No. Absolutely not. Water beast sounds like something your kid plays with in the bathtub.
It's the water beast! Like a He-Man. It sounds like a... Remember those super soakers back in the day? A water beast. That's what that was.
A water beast. You could call that, yeah.
A sea beast is a sea beast.
Water beast is the knockoff brand of super soaker. It always jams up. It's leaking constantly. It doesn't have appropriate water pressure. The pump breaks. The pump breaks right after you get it out of the plastic.
You jump out and you're like, say hello to my little friend, and then you're pumping it up and it just breaks.
It's like a water balloon broke in your hands.
It just snaps in half.
With fish mucus.
That's the water beast. The sea beast would not. The sea beast would blast water. I mean, I could take you out with a sea beast water gun, John.
Oh, I mean, sea beasts are dropping glops of mucus when they're out of the water.
And so we talked earlier, and I think we have a justification for this and what should move on and what shouldn't. We picked the lighthouse to move on, and we'll talk about that more in the next round. But I think the reason we had the Witcher, the Kikimora losing, the swamp bog. I have my notes that are really weird in here. They called it in the game. It's a cockroach, spider, shrimp, and the fight starts off in kind of a deep in the water. That's a deep bog for the two of them to emerge the way they did.
There was no water surface turbidity for like the first 10 seconds of the show. And then all of a sudden they come out. So like they must be 10, 20 feet below the surface.
Did he, I guess he went in there and dove for the Kikimora.
I don't know. Either that or they were fighting ashore and it drew him into the water, kind of like the long-haired guy in the black onesie in Lionheart, taking him into the pool. Oh my God, we should have done the Lionheart onesie pool guy.
What a great pool fight too. Oh. Underrated pool fight.
But that guy had like no body hair. He shaved it all. Like I don't think he had any sea beast mucus. So disqualified.
I found out in Slavic mythology, these things are more human-like.
Well, this thing did have this, like, what I would call a goblin-like head.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Right? Even though everything else about it, like all the limbs and then those little mouth-like limbs, like it had them all. The chelicerae, they would call them in arachnology. It had all those limbs, the abdomen, the cephalothorax, but then the head was just this boy, that was like a boglin. Remember those toys, the boglins?
Yeah, a goblin.
That was like a boglin given Guyver technology, like that horrific sci-fi monster technology from the Guyver.
So it's like a spoglin, a spider goblin boglin.
Yes, that is exactly what it was.
And I think this one didn't move to the next round. We love it, but obviously, because it doesn't spend that much time in water. It seems like it could creep around. Also, there's a scene where it's holding the Witcher down, Henry Cavill, and Henry is just standing there trying to grab his sword. And this Kikimora has probably 8 arms, and it just waits for him to grab the sword, chop his arm off, and then it gets stabbed through the head. It's sad how it dies, because he's just going to leave it in the bog. That's going to be a gross bog with that thing laying in there. But it kind of went down easily, I would say.
Easily for the Witcher.
Yeah, for the Witcher. I mean, you and I would be toast.
Even together, combined. Yeah. Like, combined, we might hold it off a little bit, but I have a feeling we're going to lose. That thing doesn't look susceptible to drop kicks.
It would trick us so easily. It would throw the spikes at us, we'd catch it, and we'd go, ha-ha! And then its 2 other ones from somewhere else would just impale us. And then it would go, ha-ha! And then, as you and I are just laying there, we'd be like, that was a good gag. Good job. We appreciate it.
You got me.
And then it looks at us and goes, wow, you're giving me props for that? I'll let you live. And then we just go away and we go to the place and have a pint.
That's it. We'll go to the Winchester.
Yeah, the Winchester. But I mean, it looks cool. And they obviously were battling in the water. It's a neat whenever I say sea beast, just know I'm rolling with Spoglin, bog monster. I just like saying sea beast. But obviously the lighthouse, and we'll talk about it later, the lighthouse should move on.
Definitely. I'm with you. We'll get to it, yeah, like you said, but I just got to say, if for no other reason than the mystique, because I like to lump all of the creatures we see, some spectral tentacles, the mermaid itself, the birds themselves, the general insanity. I feel like this is a manifestation of the Lovecraftian spirit of the island.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, or it's just in their heads, but I refuse to accept that. I want what you just said more.
Well, but just in the Lovecraft, there's a lot of Lovecraftian influence, by the way, in this list, just by virtue of the movies that happen to have come out or that we happen to think about. There's strong Lovecraft going on. It wasn't deliberate. Even if it was because they were exposed and they saw the color out of space, if you will. They were exposed to something incomprehensible and indescribable and then went mad. And this is that microcosm of their madness. And it's not even the creature itself, but it's still a product of that insane infection.
And the turpentine didn't help.
And the turpentine didn't help. And crapping in pots right by where you sleep and then sleeping, sniffing it all night. That's not good.
And all the farts.
I don't think. So many farts.
I love it. And then, all right. So we got the lighthouse is moving on to the next round, and it's gonna go up against the really cool kind of neat sharks, the albino blind scarred up sharks from 47 meters down, Uncaged, the sequel to 47 meters down, or from King Arthur, The Legend of the Sword, the sirens. That I'm gonna let you explain this, John, because when I was watching this, I was researching King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. I realized this movie has a $175 million budget. The people who did the digital effects were from the Frame Store, and his name was Christian Kastner. This is a dude who's worked on Edge of Tomorrow, Gravity, Harry Potter, Captain Marvel, Dark Knight. I mean, this is kind of two beautiful, one ugly looking sirens here on purpose, but they're neat. They're neat creatures. And when I watched this, I knew why you liked it, because they're gooey.
Right. When you first see them, it actually comes off as one mega organism. What's funny is that the sirens and, of all things, DuckTales. There was an adventure that they went on that was like the 7 Voyages of Sinbad way back in DuckTales, where the sirens were these 3 beautiful duck women singing. But when it emerged from the water, they turned out to be almost like 3 little antennae on top of the head of a giant, this one giant monster's body, almost like the glowing lure of a hagfish. So in that case, it was actually one creature and not several sirens. And at first I thought that's what this was, because when we first see, I can't remember Jude Law's character's name, but he's our antagonist.
Vortigern.
Yeah, this wizardish wannabe king. And he summons it, and it's in the basement kind of chamber crypts of the castle. And it's this writhing ball of tentacles kind of comes up, almost like a rolling koosh ball of tentacles. And first the ugly one appears, and you think it's just that thing, like Ursula from The Little Mermaid. And then the other 2 women come out, and then they separate, and they're almost, again, like Ursula, they're like squid centaurs.
Yeah.
And you even see the ends of their tentacles. They have some of those little squid flattened extensions on them, and it has this wispy, raspy voice letting you know it's something mystical and arcane, and it wants offerings of dead loved ones in exchange for dark powers to help him defeat Arthur. And it's everything dark magic that you would ever think of in fantastic movies. So these squid maids, these mermaid squids, these slimy squid maids, like, I thought the visuals of them were just so cool. And even though the CGI, even for its modern time and huge budget, did pop a little bit more than I think it should have, but they were doing so many tentacles at once. And I don't think they were putting the same level of attention to it as they did in Brave's hair.
Yeah. Those tentacles were slapping though. When the sounds.
Yeah, oh yeah.
When it comes up into the water and you see how many tentacles it has, you just heard slap, slap, slap on the rocks. There's some good slapping noises, I'll say.
It makes me think of like when they cut open the anaconda in Temple of Doom and all the eels pour out over each other, or in The Perfect Storm when they cut the net and all of those like mullet or whatever pour over each other with that slippery, slimy, just lots of that. Love that.
And I love these creatures, but they get a very unceremonious send-off. I mean, we know the magic tower is destroyed, so they're dead. Or are the tower's done. So what does that mean for them?
I mean, they might be some godly or demi-godly force that just is, and it might wait eons for the next civilization to come